What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone we are here with Johannes of Cult of Luna. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sounds much better now. Um, so your newest album is A Dawn to Fear. It's scheduled to come out on September 20th, 2019. You just want to talk about how the making of this record was? You said that the making of this record was a little bit different than previous ones, right?
Yeah. Okay, just talking about it, I realized like maybe this is every record apart from the first one. We kind of started off with a clear narrative in mind. You know what we wanted to tell and how to tell it, um, and kind of started with the big picture, and then we worked on the individual pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, or we wanted to do it more like spontaneous and intuitive, and just see what happened when you like let just write, you know, whatever pops up in our minds, in my mind, and channel it through a pen or the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of started to work the other way around. You know, work with the individual pieces, and then see what kind of picture it made. Uh, so I just wrote for 1.5, 2 years, and then we kind of piece it together, very fast and spontaneous, and this is what came out of it. And it's been a very interesting journey for me and for everybody else to see what came out of it. And another thing that we wanted to do was to make it more of a collective effort. Previously, I mean, since we live in different cities, it's been more like we met maybe a couple of days to record like the basics, and then we kind of chattered and recorded our individual like pieces in different studios. But this time we went to to a studio in Norway on a small island, like very secluded outside of Ålesund, on an island, and just hung out for 2 weeks and just worked and hung out as a band, as friends, as a collective. And I think, I hope at least it shows, and that you can hear. I mean, we instead of communicating through emails and phone calls, we kind of, if somebody had a question or an idea, could communicate that directly, and the creative process was made way more fun, than just sitting alone in the studio.
Yeah. You mentioned that some of your albums have concepts like previously, but you didn't really start off with that this time. Is it fair to say that maybe the making of this record was a little more organic?
I don't even know what goes into those kind of abstract words, really, what organic and really means when it comes like concrete stuff. Uh, it it was, like I said, it was more like spontaneous, and we we didn't put much thought into what happened in the songs. It was just they all took us where we, or I wouldn't say they wrote themselves, because that's just stupid.
Hmm.
But we kind of let the songs take their time to kind of fulfill their purpose,
Mm-hmm.
in some way, and let everybody kind of contribute with what they do best.
Uh-huh. When it comes to writing an album, especially since you kind of in the past have had emphasis on stories and stuff, do you like to leave your music open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe get the listener to get involved with the album and get them to sort of understand what you're trying to say with it?
Usually, yes. But this time I pretty much had to, and this is of course only valid with my own writing, but I kind of had to interpret it myself
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. Like I just let the words flow, and whatever came to mind, ended up on a piece of paper, or the guitar. But like now, when I've had some time to digest it, everything is so clear to me what kind of went through my mind during yeah
Hmm.
during the writing, especially lyrically. And I mean, there's some lyrics on there that I really know what's going on and what they are all about. But there's some where it just things I just wrote whatever came into my mind. But then of course you have to kind of refine it to work with the song and the vocal patterns and all that. But yeah, it was. I'm kind of leaving it open. Like I have my idea what they're all, what they are about, but
Mm.
um, yeah, but I'm very interested to talk about lyrics and what they mean to other people because I might find some meaning that I didn't found myself at the
Ah,
start.
that's always great. Sometimes I've talked to artists and asked them if maybe somebody else's perception of the music can change their perception on it, and they say absolutely not. We stick to what we feel with the music. It's interesting on how like you have like an interactive element with the people who listen to your music and develop their own interpretation behind it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe I actually can learn something.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, learn something about myself and find meanings. I mean, I think it's very fruitful sometimes to just take a step back from what you've done and see what like what other eyes and ears can make of it. Um, because sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, you
Yeah.
know. And sometimes you feel kind of insecure if you still got it, if you still can write, and just having a kind of interactive relationship with the audience is yeah, it's very fruitful and nourishing to what might come up in the future.
Yeah. Now, from listening to this album, I mean, you have a song like The Silent Man that's 10.5 minutes long. You have a song like Lights on the Hill that's 15 minutes, but then you have a song like Lay Your Head to Rest, which is only 6.5 minutes. Like, how do you decide or how do you know when a song is finished?
Oh, that's a hard question. Uh, that's a gut feeling, I think. I mean, all the songs have their own narrative, and if you take those two songs as an example, like "Lights on the Hill" and "Lay Your Head to Rest," they are very different. They are very different in its structure, and they kind of, especially "Lights on the Hill." That I mean, that song really needed the space and the time to kind of to tie the the bag at the end, and Lay Your Head. I mean, it's just two different songs. It's a very hard question to answer, actually.
Yeah, it's always the hardest question I
Because
ask every artist.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
that's why it's my favorite one to
yeah,
ask.
I mean, sometimes I think that I don't know if people want artists to have like everything, structured in their head and everything is decided like, with kind of from a right and wrong perspective. Like I don't know, stuff just happened.
Hmm.
We wrote it and it ended up being I don't know 15, 16 minutes long. That was not the intention when we wrote it. It just happened to work out that way. And Lay Your Head, same thing with that song. It's just it wouldn't make sense to put other parts on it, or it just like sometimes just stuff just happens.
Hmm.
And I mean they're all a product of a collective effort
Yeah.
from all of us, and they all songs get the time they need to be finished. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a tough question.
Yeah, that's why it's my favorite question to ask every artist I interview. Like I've asked people in hardcore bands who only have like 1 minute songs, and then a band like Sleep that has songs that are as long as an album. So it's
Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Very, very different.
yeah, exactly. Another question I'm really curious is, I was very lucky to see you guys on your tour 2 years ago with Julie Christmas, which I thought was an
Yeah.
amazing once in a lifetime experience. And having it not been for the security guard at that venue being my friend, I wouldn't have gotten into that show that night actually because it was sold out. But
Yeah.
one question I was really curious. It was a very different experience seeing you guys play with her. Did working with Julie Christmas, and I know you've collaborated with her before, does working with her open your mind to new ideas on how to write music for yourselves?
Uh, I don't think so. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's a question that is more easily answered by somebody else than myself. Like, I just write. Like, it's not like there's not much thought that goes into it. I just sit down with the guitar and then stuff just happens. And I mean, since I think um, the development of a songwriter is linear, hopefully at least, um, I wouldn't write what I do today if it wasn't for the stuff I've done previously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that period definitely kind of influenced what I write today, but um, not in a conscious sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, more than like I said, like we that was also a very concrete theme that we worked from when we wrote that, and which felt like it was the end story of a kind of a thematical journey that we've taken since 2004. So without that, I wouldn't be writing the intuitive album that we release in a couple of months or
Mm-hmm.
weeks.
Yeah. I can't believe it's coming soon. And I have two more questions for you. As somebody who has seen you live before, I always thought it was a very different experience just seeing you guys play and, how the stage is live and everything. For you, when you are playing live versus like in the album, do you like try to execute the material exactly how people hear it on the album live, or do you like to intentionally make the show a different experience?
Mm, I mean, we hardly never improvise. There's some songs that we have kind of changed a bit after playing them live because we just figured out that they would work out better in that way. The thing is, the process should really be like this: is that you should write the songs, then you should go on tour playing them live, and then you should record.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's not how it works. Because playing them live is when you really feel if they work, and you feel like you've kind of nailed the structure of it and all that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that I don't think anybody actually would like us to go out to play 8 songs that they've never heard before. But sometimes we fuck things up, and but we played together for so many years now that we kind of, especially Thomas, drummer, I played with him for like 23 years, and even if we kind of screw things up, we usually find our way back without hopefully too many people noticing.
Yeah. I mean, from what I heard, some audience members actually appreciate that because it goes to show you guys are actually true. It's not and it makes it even more organic and even interactive, I feel.
Yeah, look, I saw Maiden last year, and they screwed up a song, but it felt so refreshing. Like they're not playing to any click. They're not like maybe they do. I don't know, but they kind of you can hear it. They were lost, but they found themselves back. I saw Steve Harris. He was giving people like the look of death. He was not happy, but I kind of. But but it felt so. I mean, like you said, that feels organic. That feels like they're like musicianship, not screwing up. That's like not being human. So yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe
I'd rather hear a
yeah. That's
I'd rather hear a bad note on the guitar or a I'd rather hear a bad note on the guitar or the drummer go off time for like a split second before rather than seeing them like lip sync or playing to a click or something like that. You know what I mean?
oh yeah. But I mean, taking bad notes that happens every show. So don't worry about that. I screw up all the time. Like I'm not a good musician. Believe me, I'm not. I'm just happy to be on stage and being able to experience the whole thing.
Don't sell yourself short. That show I saw at Gramercy was pretty damn good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and the final question I wanted to ask you is because I've interviewed so many bands from Sweden before, and they were all from kind of like a similar scene. Like I've interviewed At the Gates, I interviewed The Haunted, I interviewed In Flames, Dark Tranquility, like a lot of these bands. And when they've mentioned a lot of like bands from that scene, they talk about like their peers, but I've never actually heard some of these bands mention Cult of Luna. Was there like a scene in Sweden that you guys are kind of affiliated with, or do people like assume that because you guys are from like what's considered to be the metal capital of the world?
Yeah, I mean, no, we were never a part of that. Never. I mean, we were from a punk and hardcore scene. I still am. That's where my heart is. And we were never in the metal scene. So it's just, maybe we are now, but we've never ever been. I mean, we're from a small city up north, not in Stockholm. We were not from Stockholm or from Gothenburg, and was never influenced or we never played with either of those bands. Like I know them now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but no, we're not from the same scene. We're not from the same world. That's the short answer.
Yeah. I've never really I heard there was maybe like a small punk rock scene in Sweden. I mean, a lot of people hear Swedish metal, they think of At the Gates and that sort of Gothenburg scene. But from what I heard, there was a pretty thriving punk scene back then too.
Oh yeah, no. The city where I'm from, Umeå, that it had a huge hardcore scene in the '90s, like huge. I mean, the first time I was on stage was when I played in like an old school hardcore. Like I was 15 years old, played in a kind of a youth crew band. I played in front of like 400 or 500 people, kids. It was huge during like from '92, '93 to '96, '97, '98, maybe even further, '99. So and also I think it's quite a famous scene. So we're from the same city as Refused and Sugar. I mean, Sugar, they're a bit older than us. We were never really part of their scene. But like we and Refused we're friends from the same scene.
Okay.
And still punks.
Yeah. I mean, people here, like, there's plenty of other Swedish bands that don't sound like At the Gates, like Blindside or Avatar or, still newer bands. But, like, I feel like there's just and I mean, I'm a huge fan of Kent, too, which is a pop band, so. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today. Glad we made this happen. Sorry for the couple of sound issues.
Yeah, sorry for. I think the technical issues was from my side. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Is there just obviously a Dawn to Fear scheduled to come out September 20th? Obviously, could we be expecting to see you on the road or anything else you would like to promote fairly soon?
Oh yeah, I mean we're doing the album release cycle, which means that we record it, we release it, and then we play it. So I would be very surprised if we wouldn't hit the U.S. before the end of 2020.
Yeah, we should be seeing you around there. It's a new record. We'll be seeing a lot of you.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Johannes. Everybody, we are here with Johannes of Cult of Luna, A Dawn to Fear, out on Metal Blade Records, September 20th. Be sure to pick that up. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.